Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. Our guest today is going to be Keah Mason. Keah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. I appreciate it.
Definitely. So can you tell us about a time that you said yes to yes to God?
Absolutely. So about 3 years ago, I had an idea to write a book, which is a really different experience for me because I never considered myself to be an author, never wanted to be an author. That just was not something I ever thought about doing or wanted to do. I'm a school teacher, I'm an elementary school teacher by profession, and I was fine in that lane. But writing a book is something that I again never expected, but I began to have a little bit of experience with writing some blogs for an organization that I'm a part of called Real Women. And our organization exists to help women to just walk in their journey. It's authentic, it's transparent, it is very open, of course, non-judgmental. We as women, wear various roles and hats and have different responsibilities, but Real Women is all about showing up as yourself and being your best self. And in wholeness and truth. And so I began to blog for that organization, and women would just resonate, with whatever I was writing about. My experiences were very personal, and raw. And so because people were able to connect, I'm like, okay, it's therapeutic for me. Writing is it's like a journal entry, and it's therapeutic to get it out of me. And when someone else is able to connect um to my story and it helps them with their story, I just think that that's a wonderful feeling, and that's the whole purpose and intention of sharing our testimonies and our experiences, and there's power and connectedness in that. So that was comfortable, but writing a book was something totally different. But the book, it wasn't because I wanted to be a writer, but it was more so because I just have such a, I don't know if I want to say a love hate relationship, but I
Yeah.
absolutely have a relationship with loneliness. That is a topic that has definitely impacted my life. And I have some ups and I have some downs, of course, as it results to loneliness. And so to put all those things in a book, because I knew that it was something that women could relate to and connect to, was me saying yes to God. Loneliness is an affliction. It's for me, it's an affliction. It's a challenge and it's a struggle. It's a hardship, is really what it has been in my life. But I wanted to take those feelings and experiences and allow God to work them all together for the good. Loneliness is something that I think everyone is impacted by at some point in our lives. It's not just about being single. It's affected, in many ways. You know, as we become older, we may experience loneliness for different reasons, as we shift careers or maybe exit careers and enter into retirement, or um maybe from relationships, if we're single or if we're divorced or if we are a widow, or if we're um obviously have lost a spouse or significant other. As our children grow older, we become empty nesters, or, even as friendships change, people change, and, life just kind of changes, and you may experience loneliness just in your friendships. So, lots of different reasons for loneliness to occur in our lives. But the whole purpose is, when it does, how do we respond to it? We can't necessarily, help the fact or control the fact that we feel lonely and we experience being alone. um but again, how we respond and react to our feelings, and thinking about what are our behaviors and what are our actions going to be, what are our thoughts about this, and what kind of choices does it lead us to when we feel that way, is what I wanted to talk about, because I had to realize in my life that I experienced loneliness on lots of different levels for different reasons, but I wasn't making good choices as a result of it.
Wow.
And so me saying yes to God wasn't like I wanted to air my dirty laundry out to the world and tell you, oh, this is how I felt. So this is what I did.
Yeah.
Don't do this. It wasn't about that, but it was about allowing God to use my story and my experiences, even the good, the bad, the ugly, the shameful, um, and turn it around, and turn it into something beautiful, into um me being the woman that he created me to be, even while experiencing loneliness. That um saying yes was about, God, I surrender this to you. And I'm not sure, who's going to pick this book up, who's going to read it, who's going to be able to connect with it. Or I'm certainly not an expert, in loneliness. I'm not an expert writer, but it's like, God, you've allowed this to happen in my life, and you've given me this awareness, and I just want to use it for your glory. So
Yeah.
again, not knowing, you're taking a risk. Writing is very personal. It's you're having to be vulnerable, and you're not sure if just how people are going to respond. And half the time I felt like, I know what I'm talking about, because I'm having to live this out and walk this out in my own life. But again, trusting God with your journey, and just saying yes, like, God, I'm not sure and I'm scared. This is uncomfortable,
Mhm.
but I'm going to say yes. And so, when asked the question, when is the time I said yes to God, I would have to say that, because that was the time when I wanted to be like, nope, choose someone
Yeah.
else. I don't want to do that. I don't want to relive those past experiences necessarily. They've been hurtful. So digging up a lot of things that I've gone through and putting them in a book now for the world to read.
Mhm.
And then knowing too that I would be, no, it's not giving advice, I would say, but it's more so discussing, the path that it had led me to, and also shifting my perspective for what it could lead to, as well. It's not easy, because loneliness, I don't think, is something that you overcome. It's more so it's a journey. and
Yeah.
and we don't always respond. I don't always respond the right way, or in a healthy way, or in a way that necessarily is pleasing to God. So knowing that this wasn't something I had perfected by any means, just was also scary. It was a risk, but I felt like God saying, I didn't bring this into your life by accident, for sure. So I think that, I find that usually whatever our affliction is the very thing that God is going to use in our lives to bring him glory and to achieve a purpose that is greater than our pain. So that's, yes, that's one of my yeses.
I love that. For me, uh, and I'm just thinking about like different ways that loneliness looks like, because we have a idea of it, but for me, recently, loneliness has looked like a lot of people around me,
Mhm.
who are pouring into me, and they are there, but I still felt like I was alone. You know what I mean? It's crazy, to have so many people that will love you and try to actually help you, but you're like, well, I'm still alone. So
Yeah.
how do people deal with that, a different view of it?
It's hard, and I don't necessarily have an answer. I think that a great deal of it has to do with perspective and the narrative that we choose to play in our heads. I'll give an example. For me, 2020, 2021 is kind of, some people are saying, Kia, this is a really great year for you. 2020 was difficult. In May of last year, my mom passed, and
I'm sorry.
thank you. Having to navigate through that grief is one thing. And then in November, I was nominated by my school teacher of the year for the county where I work.
Awesome.
And thank you. And then comes 2021 January when the announcement of my book is. And so I've got teacher of the year and my book release. And those are like highs. Everybody else is looking at me like, "Oh, Keah, you're on a roll. You're in like on this high of success and, achievements and good things happening for you." But my perspective, all these people are rallying around me and celebrating me and, congratulating me and, walking alongside me in these achievements, and all I'm thinking about is the one person who's not there. And so again, loneliness has another meaning, that my mom is not here. And so I could be surrounded, we can be surrounded by hundreds, thousands of people and still feel alone because what we're longing for, that need still is not met. Um and so again, you still feel lonely, right? Because of the one person that you're thinking of, even if it's a lot of other people around you, if it's the one that you're longing for, you're still going to feel very much alone. Which is why I think too, people can be in relationships, they can be
Yeah.
married, or they can have children and still feel lonely. And you're like, how? As a single person, I just wish I had somebody. I wish I had a significant other. Well,
Yeah.
loneliness doesn't go away just like that. So it's and I love the fact that the book, in it, I try to make sure people know this is not just for singles. This is not for singles. Again, married people and people with children can experience loneliness in the same way. So it's not about the number of people that surround you, but it's about your mindset. And so for me, connecting it to what I talked about, just in grieving my mom, here's a season in my life where I should be celebrating and I should be happy, but all I'm thinking about is, well, doesn't mean anything if she's not here. Well, that's perspective for me. So another, way to say yes and to rise above that, allow myself to feel what I feel, to feel that loss, to feel that grief, and allow myself to mourn for her whenever it comes up and acknowledge that this is how I feel, but to also um shift my mind to the legacy and love that I've had my whole entire life when she was here. And so it's a choice. It for me, it comes to making a choice. I can either wallow in this and die myself. And
Yeah.
when I say die, it doesn't mean physically, but it means just the opposite of actually living and enjoying and being in abundance, or I can celebrate. I know she's in heaven where everything is perfect. And so surely she's celebrating and I'm having to make the choice, so can I. I am still her daughter. She is still my mother. She would still be looking down on me proud and with love. And it's just still knowing she's still with me, she's still connected. We're still connected and we're still side by side. You have to choose to feel that. You have to choose to adapt in that. When a person, for me, when I feel lonely, you're going to have to allow yourself to feel that, but also tell yourself, I feel lonely, but I'm not alone.
Mm.
I'm not alone. And understand that the company and the companionship and the connection and the fellowship and the community that you're longing for and you're looking for is often within you already. And so, almost coming up on a year to the anniversary of my mom's passing, the grief doesn't go away. The mourning and the pain doesn't go away. And I'm almost 40 and I'm still just a girl who misses her mommy, who longs for
Yeah.
her mommy. But when I have my moments when I need her and I want her, I go to the mirror and I see her because she's within me, because I'm still her daughter. And so when I need to hear from her, I open my mouth and I start talking and I hear her because I'm her daughter. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so knowing that what it is that we're longing for is in us to give ourselves. Um and not because just because she's my mother, but because God is in us. That what we're really looking for is love, and and validation and assurance and security that we have to give to ourselves because God is in us. We don't lack it. I personally in my life have mismanaged it and have made it other people's responsibility to provide that in my life, to fill the what I thought was a void and emptiness. And it's reoccurring. I still I still do it all the time. I still do it. But when I really sit back and think about it, it's like, what are you longing for right now? What is it that you need? You already have it. You already are loved and validated, and you are enough and you're valued. So you got to look to yourself first before you project that codependency on other people. Because it's almost like me saying, "Well, I can't celebrate and be happy unless my mom's here," and
Mm,
that's just not fair. That wouldn't be fair to her, to have to be here in her, affliction and pain and misery. My mom was very sick, so I feel like God giving her the gift of heaven was a rescue, and the most gracious thing, that could ever be done was to take her out of this and to give her heaven where she is completely healed. Um, is the best thing. And so my answer to that, is yes, God, I agree with you. And to know, okay, physically, yeah, there may be that separation, but no loss there, i- truly, because it doesn't change who she is or who I am. And so, um again, going back to your question, how do you deal with that? It's just, I think, changing the narrative. And we tell ourselves lots of lies, and negative self-talk is what we feed ourselves. But if that's what we continue to feed ourselves, then that's what's going to grow in us. But when you start
mm.
to feed yourself something different, something truthful, that transcends beyond what you feel, then you start to believe that, and then you start to live that, and then you start to project that.
I love how you were saying that. I mean, if we focus on God first and not try to focus on the things of this world, he will fulfill us, and then ultimately give us, the happiness in this world. He'll put certain people in your life to fill those actual voids. And I find it so beautiful how he's always there,
Yeah.
because you'll feel like he is not, and then he'll tell you to do something, and you're like, well, I don't know what to do. uh so what type of conversations do you have with him, with when you're feeling lonely? Because like like you said, it's not something that really goes away. It can come back later. So what type of conversations were you having with God?
Honest conversations.
It's good.
Honest conversations. I so appreciate that God allows me to be myself and allows me to just pour out my heart and just cry out to him in honesty. There's always reverence and respect and love, is my posture. But when I'm hurt, I say I'm hurt. When I'm confused, when I am scared, when I am broken, when I'm ashamed, when I'm heavy, I just say it. I just say it. And I'm just honest. He can handle the cries of our hearts. And when I feel like this isn't fair, this is too hard, this is too much, and God, please. But what I've learned, I thought about recently, and that's why I was so struggling to figure out what was I going to talk about exactly today, because loneliness yet has another meaning in my life. Is I'm just ending a situationship that I'll call it a situation
I understand.
that I thought was going in. I was like, oh, finally, here we
Yeah.
are. But we're not now. So here we are. So I'm going through that too. So this loneliness thing is not a book I just wrote. It's I'm the main one having to look. What did I say? What how and having to encourage myself. But I've taken the hurt and the just the pain and the suffering and just been really honest with God about it. And and literally have said, God, I have nothing left. I have nothing. In a moment, in a season of grief for a parent, and then now this too. And then it's of course still pandemic and we're all still pretty isolated and, you know, um, alone more than we would be under normal circumstances. Like this is too much.
Yeah,
And I said, and I just say that, but I also in those prayers, what I realize is, but you're praying. You're talking to I feel like God's saying, but you're still talking to me, which
yeah,
means that if you got this much faith, I feel like God says to me every time, that's all I need. So in those conversations when you feel like you've hit your rock bottom, your lowest of lows, um, still opening your mouth to God is still saying, I know you're there. I
yeah,
know you hear me." And I feel the worst I've ever felt in my entire life, but me coming to you still says, I still see you and I still know who you are. And you'll take that much faith if it's only just a teeny, teeny, teeny bit that I have right now because of how I'm feeling, then God says that's enough and he'll use that. And so the pain hasn't gone away, the circumstance hasn't changed. I wish it would, but it hasn't. But in it, um, God still provides just a grace and a comfort and love that is the most amazing thing. And for me, so it only comes, when you have those conversations with them, even when they're conversations that aren't so good, when they're honest, God handles our honesty and meets us right there as
that's
well.
right. I had somebody tell me once that God is not scared of me. And I'm
Mhm.
like, wow, I've never thought about it like that. He can handle anything that
Yeah.
I want to say,
Mhm.
because I can get into a spot where I'm like, I want to talk to him about it, but it's like, well, should I even bring that up to him? It's like,
Mhm.
well, he can take everything, and like you said, it's good that you're even starting to actually pray. It's like I'm still doing it. I'm
Mhm.
bringing you these bad things, but I'm 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 talking to you, and
Yeah.
I love how he uses like with me with stuttering you loneliness. It's like he's using these things that we feel like are just horrible things to
Yeah.
bring them in, in, into a light to actually change other people, and it's
Yeah.
just beautiful.
Yeah. And we think that it changes other people, and it does,
Yeah,
and it will continue to, but it changes us
it does.
as well.
Yeah,
We're the main ones that it changes. And so I think saying yes to change, and because our afflictions are, like you said, they're so big to us.
yeah,
People don't realize, how much we don't want to feel how we feel,
mhm,
about whatever it is that we have. And some cases it may be that it's whatever, if for me, yeah, it's loneliness, it's singleness, it's being alone and making toxic choices because I don't want to be alone. And for somebody else, it's, you know, a woman, a couple, they've been trying to conceive, or for someone else, it's been trying to get this particular job or trying to finish school, or trying to overcome an addiction or gambling, or, whether it's alcohol or drug abuse, whatever. It's all of us have something. And knowing that God sees it the exact same, regardless of what it is, the exact same, and that God is going to love us through those things that for us seem so monumental. Like, God, how could you love this? This is heavy on my back. How could you carry this? How could you love this? And for God to, allow us to see him as bigger than whatever it is that we're facing, is amazing.
Mm,
Is amazing. Now I'm not saying that it eases the pain right away, because I think that the I know for me that it is the pain and the suffering that draws me to him in the first place. Like I wouldn't be clinging to him and, at his feet the way I am if everything was going the way I wanted it to go.
yeah,
And that's the it feels unfortunate, but we suffer I think because it allows us to identify with Christ, and it allowed him to identify the things that we would be facing. Um and it draws us to him, and we end up, I think, seeing how much he loves us and how much he's chasing after us and pursuing us, and how worthy we are to him, in our greatest pain and brokenness.
that is so good. And this conversation could not have come at the the most best time because I am actually considering applying for a job that'll, if I get it, it'll put me in a place where I have to go off and then be alone, and it's so scary. It's
Yeah.
like I feel like God is calling me to do this,
Mhm.
but the one, it doesn't look like what I thought. You right? I knew that I was going to leave the job that I'm at now at some point, which is fine. It's just when I heard him telling me to apply for this job, I'm like, well, that's not what we talked about earlier. You know what I mean? But it wasn't what he said; it was what I said. He still told me to leave, and I'm like, Lord, when you say it, I will go. And then he said it, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going there. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so scared of, I'm scared of getting the job so that I have to step out on faith
Yeah.
and be like Peter and just walk on the water. And it's like
Yeah.
I want to step out. I want to do it, but I'm gonna be alone. Like I have to go up there alone, and I have to restart my life, and it's scary to make that big decision.
Mm.
Mm,
It is. It is scary. It is scary.
yeah,
And I think having that conversation with him, and telling him exactly what you're scared of is therapeutic and peaceful, to just be able to just have that open communication,
yeah,
with him, and simply saying, I am scared. I'm afraid. I don't want to be alone. And then I think too, we're reminded um how much I mean, this book is about loneliness. So it's like alone, 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 right? And when we say to God, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be alone. I feel like God saying, I know, like it wasn't. Remember, it was my idea for people to not be alone in the first place.
yeah,
So it's like again, we it's easier said than done, but ultimately it comes down to us trusting that God won't allow us to be alone. Because it was His design for relationships anyway. So, just like I guess being open to whatever he has, for us. And it's just it's not easy. It's so not easy. But my prayer is like, God, help me with my unbelief, help me with where my faith is lacking, and when you can identify what that is, because it's like like what you're saying, God, like, God, I want to do it. You know, I want to say yes to you, and I want to surrender this to you, but I don't want to be alone. So now comes the point where you have to activate that faith
yeah,
and that trust, which is the basis of your relationship with God anyway. We can't, I don't think we have a relationship with God for real if we don't trust him. And if everything's going well, right? Everything goes according to our plan,
yeah,
and we never have to seek him for anything. And we never have to step out on our faith for anything. Because if we're just getting everything that we want,
yeah.
then
Why
would
do
we
why do we
ever have
need
to
him?
trust? Or would
Yeah,
we ever have to have faith? No, we wouldn't. So it then let's just say for anybody tuning in, choose yes and say yes to God, but just know that Christian walk is not easy.
it's
I mean,
not.
I wouldn't trade it, for the world. I wouldn't choose anything else, but it's not a walk in the park. And I want people, to know that trusting God is and having faith is not easy. It is very difficult, but he knows that it's going to be like that and has, always has solutions and answers to our prayers always, and to whatever it is that we're facing that we feel like we can't do. We always come out seeing that he does it for us, and he fights those battles for us and equips us to be able to do things that we never thought possible.
So what would you say to the person who is listening who just feels like they don't have purpose in 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 life? What would you say to them to help them push toward it more?
Mhm. Um, okay, so there's a couple of things that I could say. So feeling like they don't have purpose. It's easy to say, seek God for your purpose. That's the simple
Simple, yeah,
answer. But it's like that's not always tangible, right?
yeah.
So this is something that I've done recently. I I look inward a lot to myself. And the reason is because understand that God is within us, right?
Yeah.
So the things that we desire and the things that are of us are from God as well. Most of those things. We all got some stuff that isn't of God, but he'll work on that. But when we think about and we get to the core of our wants and our needs and our talents and abilities and our shape. I don't know if you've ever heard of the term shape, but our gifts, what we're good at, what we are, what our strengths are. In order to do so, I know that for me, I'll just give some examples. I'm a teacher, so I'm an educator and a leader in that world. Um, I know what my hobbies and my interests are. I know what my roles are in terms of like family. Like I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a godmother, I'm a niece, I'm an aunt, those types of things. And then what's important to me, like what my passions are, what I am passionate about and what I feel like I need in order to um feel happy and fulfilled. So I know what my self-care has to look like and consist of. And, so if I like to play kickball and I like to have game nights and I like to do, whatever, then I could get to incorporate those things. And then of course by profession, since I'm a teacher, that's my gift. I'm trained in that. I'm certified in that. So career wise, I have to be in a position where I'm able to um walk in that role.
Mm.
And then there's the components of service and volunteering and that fills me up and does something for me as well. And also being in tune with what I need to feel my best self and to be my best self. So I like to if I'm an affectionate person or if I'm a person that desires, community and connections, then I'm putting myself in positions where I have those things. And so for somebody that says that they're not sure what their purpose is, well, you got to unpack what it is that you want
Yeah.
first. And so an exercise I've done is called Pieces of Me. And it allowed me to unpack who I am as a person because we want somebody to come into our lives to fill the void of loneliness, for
Mhm.
example, or to be our friend or to be our company and know us, know what I like, know what I need in this moment, and know how to fill my bucket and fill
Yeah.
my cup and fill my love tank. But do we know it for ourselves? And when we sit with ourselves and uncover, our personalities and well, what is it that I like anyway? What are the things that I like to do? And what are the things that are necessary for me to feel loved and to give love? How do I receive it and how do I best express it?
Mhm.
When you uncover that for yourself, I think that links you to your purpose. Like I can tell you that since I am a leader and a facilitator and I'm a teacher, that that's connected to my purpose in some way, because that's part of who I am, and which is why I'm successful in that area of my life. And so you have to think about not only what you want for your life, but also what you're good at, and also couple that with what you desire. You're going to find your purpose in that. Do you know what I mean? Like, God
Definitely.
is, I think he's going to assign you something. He's going to stretch you
Yeah.
and he's going to take you out your comfort zone. But I think that you're going to find that your purpose is tied to, one, something that burdens you
Mhm.
and is an affliction for you, but it's also going to be something that you are naturally talented and strengthened in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely does. I feel like a lot of people, even myself, when we think about purpose, we want to focus on what we don't have. Like what can I like? I want to feel like I'm something, but I'm
Mhm.
focusing on what I don't have, and like you said, just focus on what you do have. Focus on what is around you, and just work hard at that. That is so good. I love it. So good. Well, is there anything else that you want to say to our listeners about anything, and then we can tell them how they can buy your book. I've already bought it. It is coming. So is there anything else for them?
I wish everyone a journey of hope, healing, and happiness. And it's a journey. It's not a destination. So it's not, we're always thinking of somewhere where we can get to,
Right.
or I'll be happy if I have this, or if I get this, or if, whatever. Once this is checked off, and that we think that, but that's not it. So it's we are changing and evolving. We are uncovering and digging up roots, and I just encourage, everybody to do the work, to just to uncover, and unpack those things about ourselves, and to, really get to know ourselves in the way that we're willing to get to know other people. We're longing for other people to come into our lives, and be this the best company we've ever had before. And that's fine and well, because God made relationships and, connections, and that's his desire as well. But I think that the relationship that we have with ourselves um comes first. The
Yeah.
Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
And so I think that for all of us, the journey of self-love is ongoing, and it's a daily thing. And I think that when we are able to, truly love ourselves in the way that God loves us and created us to be loved, we're able to better demonstrate that love to others as well as receive it from others.
That
So,
is so good.
mm.
So good. Where can we buy this where can we buy this amazing book?
So thank you for that. It is located on my publisher's website. So the website is purposepublishingcompany.com/Keah Mason. And my name is spelled Keah. So again, purposepublishingcompany.com/Keah Mason. And they can
Awesome.
get it right from that website. And I'm the one that ships it to them. So I would love for people to go to the website to purchase it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for just pouring out wisdom for us and helping us through loneliness. And this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Pathway to Purpose podcast. Being able to create a platform for someone to tell their story and also a place for someone to hear it is extremely important to me. I hope you heard something that helps you grow and something that you can pass on to somebody else. Stay tuned for the next episode and check out the Pathway to Purpose Instagram and Facebook to see inspirational quotes to help you on your journey. I also want to give a big shout out to my whole team at Sidney Young Media Group for making this podcast possible. Be blessed, everyone.